Hello, welcome back, and today we are going to be summarizing Module 13 for the Real Estate Salesperson program, delivered by Humber. So let's not waste any time and let's get to it. So Module 13 has about 6 lessons, and there's a lot of reading in it, and so please go over it, but it's pretty straightforward. I don't think you should have any problems. Excuse me. Like the first lesson has 35 pages, so we're going to skip that and go right to the end. So in lesson 1, to summarize it, they talk about potential sources of buyers. The growth of your business is being successful, obviously, and finding potential sources of buyers is at the heart of it. Excuse me. So in order to source for different buyers, you have to hold open houses, duty time, farming, and networking. They put you in a path for potential buyers. Activities such as putting up signs for calls, encouraging referrals, advertising, and building an online presence, creating opportunities for potential buyers to reach out to you. And make sure you're doing a variety of activities that will ensure that you are not relying on any one method. So you got to do a lot of different things to look for buyers. So a buyer's package for initial contact. A buyer's package is a good tool for a salesperson to use during the sale process. It's another way to show value, to showcase yourself and how you are different from other salespersons. Having a friendly headshot and contact information is just the beginning. It is truly the content that helps you shine. Include ways to collect information from buyers that will help you give them personalized service. Provide valuable information such as a list of additional costs they should plan for, a variety of information on third-party professionals they may need, and perhaps some geographical information. There are ways to set yourself apart and position yourself as an expert and a professional. So no matter what form it takes, must provide value. Think of ways you can help buyers and tailor the package to reflect it. So options for personalizing a buyer's package. What can set you apart is and it is critical to understand. Excuse me, I'm going to do it again. What can set you apart and is critical is understanding what your buyers are looking for and personalizing your service for them. This can be achieved by asking qualified questions that will help you put together a picture of what your buyers want and need. Once you have asked the first and most important question, which is, are you currently working with a salesperson, and taken steps to satisfy yourself they are not, it is time to begin the qualifying process. So the most important question you have to ask is, are you currently working with another salesperson? And a salesperson can save everyone's time and frustration by having a list of qualifying questions to ask the buyer. This enables the buyers to gather their priorities and get a clear picture of what they were looking for. Information such as their motivations, time preference, budget, and wants and needs based on lifestyle should all surface for you to know what to look for in a property search. So lesson 1 basically just talks about that. I don't know why they needed 35 pages for this, but let me just see if we've missed anything. Preparing to meet buyers, open house, gathering information. Yeah, it's just a lot of weird stuff. Okay, moving on to lesson 2. Salesperson's obligation to buyers. So another lesson with 35 pages worth of reading. We're gonna just summarize it right here. I don't think that really covers the whole package, but let me read the summary first, and then we'll see if we can go back and see if there's more information that needs to be covered. So relationship options with potential buyer. When you have determined that a potential buyer is not a party to representation agreement with another brokerage. Sorry, I just keep getting a message from somebody and they are distracting me, so I'm just going to turn my phone off real quick. Okay. When you have determined that a potential buyer is not a party to a representation agreement with any other brokerage, and the next step is to qualify the buyer. The more there is more work necessary when moving forward to qualifying the buyer and establishing a relationship as client or customer. It is important that you know the critical differences between a client and a customer and be able to explain them, because it will shape the conversations you have with them moving forward. While honesty, integrity, and competent service are all due to all, confidentially, and fiduciary duties are owed to clients, and you will have to explain to that. You have to explain that to buyers that as they decide on the type of relationship they will enter with your brokerage. It is important to discuss the differences with buyers and have them commit in writing to their choice before business moves too far forward. A growing number of brokerages will not allow their salesperson to book a viewing until they have signed an agreement identifying the type of relationship, so making it a habit to explain and establish the relationship and put it in writing is the best practice and will serve you well in your career. Obligations when showing a property to potential buyers. We explored a salesperson's obligation to buyers when showing properties. Keep in mind that the difference between a client and a customer. A salesperson must adhere to the code when conducting business. The code prohibits you from working with another salesperson client without the other salesperson's written consent to do so. Fairness, honesty, and conscious oh my god, I can't pronounce words today. Conscious service are owed to all, as well as disclosing material facts. I know you're listening to me and you're like, oh, this guy can't even read English. Please bear with me. I've had a long day at work, but I'm trying my best to complete this course because I have an exam coming up soon. So I'm just got a lot of information to take in. So when recommending third-party services, you want to make sure you are impartial. You want to offer multiple sources and allow the buyer to choose the third party that best suits their need. The difference in your duties and obligations regarding best interests, properties, and material fact disclosures when dealing with a client versus a customer. As you learned earlier, these duties are altered in multiple representation situations. Multiple representation situation is any situation where two or more clients in a real estate transaction are represented by a single brokerage. Possible scenarios include a single broker or salesperson representing both the seller and both the seller and buyer. Different salespersons or brokers employed by the same brokerage representing both the seller and buyer, or a registrant representing multiple buyers in the same transaction. Okay, I don't think this covers a lot of stuff, so I'm just going to quickly go through this. Reviewing the differences between a client versus customer relationship option. The difference between a customer and client is very important. A salesperson must be careful that they know the difference so they can represent people properly and able to explain it to salesperson and buyers effectively. A customer is typically someone using a salesperson to help oversee the buying or selling of a house. You owe them competent service, honesty, and good faith, but you do not owe them confidentiality and fiduciary duty. In contrast, a client allows a salesperson to represent them and expects all information known by the salesperson to be used for their benefit. The salesperson is bound by confidentiality and has a fiduciary duty to only act in their best interest. So that's the difference between a client and a customer. Let's go. Should I go through this? I think we already know, but let's just go through it. Sellers and buyers may enter into one of two types of agreements with a brokerage: a representation agreement and a customer service agreement. Both are considered legally binding agreements. When someone enters into a representation agreement, they are considered a client of the brokerage. As a client, the brokerage has an important obligation to them called fiduciary duty, and must promote and protect their best interests in a real estate transaction. Give me 1 second. This person just keeps calling me. Oh my goodness. Okay. If they are looking to purchase a property under a legislated code of ethics, you as a salesperson must take reasonable steps to determine and then disclose to them all material facts about the property. When someone enters into a customer service agreement, they are considered a customer. As a customer, the brokerage does not have the obligation of fiduciary duty, but is obligated to treat them with fairness, honesty, and integrity, and to provide them with conscious and competent service. You as a salesperson only have to disclose to the customer the material facts that you already know or ought to know. Okay, cool, sounds good. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it, the most important stuff we've covered. Let's move on to lesson 3, selection of properties to show. Okay. Once qualifying questions have been asked and the buyer profile has been outlined, it is time to start the property search. As you go through the process of searching and targeting properties, then viewing and comparing them, you will get a clear picture of what the buyer needs. Over and above the basic information, you must consider environment, accessibility, utilities, and amenities when narrowing down the field of search. Keep your buyer profile and property profile sheet updated, and that will be the key throughout the process. Meeting the buyer's criteria, there are a number of places you can look to find properties that are suitable for buyers. Depending on the need, you may use the local listing service in your search, but you can also search the private listings such as classified ads, online ads, computer apps, and social networking to help get your results. The most important thing is to keep your buyer's needs and wants in mind when searching, and continually adjust the property profile property sheet as they become clear during the search. Wow, lesson 3 was super simple. Okay, let's go to lesson 4. Showing a property. Say there's about 33 pages of reading, so we are going to just summarize it. So when showing a property, before the tour, showing properties provide you with a number of different opportunities to service your buyer and enrich the experience with personal service. Being prepared by coordinating schedules to book showings is the first way to show professionalism and courtesy. Showing buyers properties in geographical order and leaving enough time for each visit allows you and the buyers to make the best of the property visits. Being courteous to sellers and representing their time also provides you the opportunity to put the buyers in the best light should negotiations go forward. It is not necessary to travel in the same car as your buyers. I wouldn't recommend that anyways. I would rather go in my own car. It is not necessary to travel in the same car as your buyers as the tour goes underway. Instead, meeting at the brokerage gives everyone the chance to coordinate, communicate locations, travel safely, and enable each other to go their own way once the tour is concluded. Planning your tour by booking enough properties without overwhelming the buyer is important, but it is good to note that distance, timing, and market conditions play a factor in the decisions. Remember, it is important to confirm all meetings prior to setting out on your tour. This allows sellers to prepare their homes to set up a visit for success and gives them the time to leave the premises, so buyers have the privacy to view the home at their pace. Yeah, sorry about that, 1 second. So during the tour, let's go back to full speed. During the tour, it is important to go to the properties prepared with the listing sheets and to take notes. You want to set up conversations in advance by telling your buyers about the location, amenities in the area, and of course, details on the home itself. At each property, you'll want to show proper respect for the seller's personal possessions by removing your shoes and refraining from touching personal items. You'll want to ensure the photographs are not taken without permission. You'll also want to ensure that all potentially hazardous areas are pointed out to avoid any accidents, personal injuries, or damage to the home. Safety and security are of utmost importance. Be diligent and keep an eye on buyers so things go smoothly, while still allowing them some personal space to discuss things privately from time to time. Be patient when listening to the feedback and answer questions and concerns with positivity, but remember to be honest with your responses. Don't be misled or dismayed with criticism. Sometimes it's a sign of interest, and negative feedback can provide insights to requalify your buyers. Keep diligent notes during visits and write down any observations that will help you narrow down what your buyers are looking for. These notes will also be helpful when providing showings, feedbacks to the sellers or their representatives. So after the tour, no showing is a waste of time. In each showing, something can be learned and used to help close a transaction or direct the next property tour. Using feedback to requalify the buyers is important if you are going to find the right fit for them. Responding to it also shows you were listening and are providing personalized service that is of value. A successful showing will lead to an opportunity. You will then be able to assist your buyers with their decision, whatever it may be, whether it is through comparisons, looking at the details, weighing advantages versus disadvantages, and confirming advantages. You can help your clients make an educated guess or decision. So that was lesson 4. Let's move on to lesson 5. Property showing with when seller has limited/no service provided. So, obligations for a mere posting or FSBO. Regardless of services provided, all salespersons and brokerages must fully comply with RIBA and other legislative requirements such as FINTRACT requirements, among others. When a property that matches the buyer's criteria is FSBO, this means the seller does not have any agreement or relationship with any brokerage, not even a mere posting or limited service. To clarify these matters, an information bulletin titled questions bulletin titled questions answer relating to RIBA 2002 and the consent agreement was published by the Real Estate Council of Ontario. I guess you can go and read that if you want. So, legal obligations for contact and remuneration for mere posting or FSBO listings. When a seller has a mere posting/limited service listing agreement with another brokerage and the seller has not agreed to pay remuneration, the buyer's salesperson must consider 4 actions that arise in connection with their legal obligations. So, contact listing brokerage, contact the seller, enter a remuneration agreement with seller, inform the buyer of the remuneration arrangement. When a seller has a FSBO property and the seller has agreed to pay remuneration, the salesperson must consider 3 actions that arise in connection with their legal obligation. Contact the seller, sign a customer service agreement with seller, inform the buyer of the remuneration arrangement. Cool, sounds good. So the key components of a remuneration agreement with the seller commission agreement with cooperating brokerage for a listed property has a critical role to play in assisting you in meeting your legal obligations when dealing with a mere posting / limited service agreement with another brokerage. Key components of an agreement include remuneration payable, deposit details, amount, form of deposit, and deposit holder, confirmation of permission to contact the seller. When there is no agreement between a mere posting seller or FSBO and the buyer's representative, you are obligated to inform the buyer of all properties whose attributes meet those your buyer is seeking, and whose seller has a mere posting / limited service agreement with another brokerage, or when the property is FSBO, to your buyer client, though not to your buyer customer, regardless of whether the seller signed a remuneration agreement with you. So you have to let your client know, but not your customer. Oh, interesting. There is a distinct disadvantages to both a seller and a salesperson when the seller does not sign either a seller remuneration agreement or seller customer service agreement. The primary disadvantage to a seller is limited exposure to prospective buyers. For the salesperson, a claim of remuneration can be called into question if there is no agreement of payment in place. Okay, so that was lesson 5. Let's move on to lesson 6. Due diligence requiring a third-party provider. Obligations regarding a third-party service providers. Providing opinions is something you can do only when you are skilled or knowledgeable in that area you're commenting on. Never guess. If it is your opinion, say with your opinion up front and be clear. Failing to do so opens you up to liability. Your buyers are looking to you to be the expert, and the courts do as well. To move a transaction forward, the third-party professionals are needed. If the buyer does not have their own providers, it is a good idea to recommend no less than 3 for any one category. If possible, it is important to be impartial and let the buyer decide who is best for them. The more experience you have, the easier this will become. Attend inspections and other appointments to show your buyer that you are engaged and supportive and doing your due diligence to look after their interests. The additional benefit is it allows you to increase your own knowledge. The more educated you are, the easier you will be able to spot problems and help your clients and customers. Okay, that sounds good. Okay, circumstances that warrant referral to a third-party service provider. In the beginning, you will identify obvious areas where a third party needs to be brought in. As your experience grows and you attend more inspections, other areas that are less obvious will get flagged, and you will be able to help your buyers to a greater degree. There are four professionals that are key in most transactions: the lawyer, the mortgage broker, the insurance broker, and the home inspector. Others over and above that will likely be identified as issues arise and material facts are revealed. Doing your due diligence will help ensure that your buyers are getting complete and accurate information and are safe in their purchase. It will also help you to have your bases covered to avoid any liability on your part. Leading practices when referring a buyer to a third-party service provider. No matter the situation, it is always a good idea to document your referrals in writing, whether in a printed document or by emails. Sending referrals and getting acknowledgement that you have recommended a third party is important. Buyers may not go with your advice, but it is documented. You have demonstrated your actions and advise and have done the necessary due diligence. That due diligence also includes doing your research on third-party providers you are recommending. When you are new and starting to gather good professionals to refer, start with your colleagues as well as your friends and families. Personal experience is key to ensuring that names given will take good care of your buyers and reflect well on you and your service. Okay, sounds good. So that was lesson 7. Oh, sorry, lesson 6. Lesson 7 is summary practice activities. You can do that on your own. I'm just gonna take a quick look at the module summary, see if they have any good information. So prepared to meet buyers. Okay, we've already covered that. So yeah, the most important question is, are you currently working with a salesperson? Always ask that question. And yeah, it is important to review buyers' options with them each. Yeah, so when buyers become clients, the relationship is often implied, but it is important to document it. In some cases, the buyers may choose to be a customer, while honesty and integrity are due to both. Confidentiality and fiduciary duties are not. So it is important to discuss the difference between differences with your buyer and to have them commit in writing to one of them before business moves too far forward. We've already talked about that. Selecting properties, we've talked about that. We've talked about this. Yeah, so basically we've covered the whole thing. Alright guys, so this was module 13. I hope this helped. I've learned 1 or 2 things, yeah. And thank you for listening to me. I've had a few distractions in this video, but it is what it is.